It is a spectacularly amazing day to just show up. Hi, everyone. Yvonne Heath here, nurse turned author, speaker, and changemaker, and your host. Welcome to Navigating Grief with Heart and Humor, where we talk about, plan, and prepare for grief, transitions, end of life, and all the messiness in between, long before it arrives, and diffuse the fear so we can live fully now. That is what we aspire to do. We want to be proactive. We want to get ready for the next phase of our life, stage of our life, anticipate what may be just around the corner, knowing that we will always have surprises and glitches around the corner. And we accept that. What has made us want to do this differently is we have been in the deep trenches of grief, have faced challenges, and many have faced the most just heart-wrenching traumas and crisis, and want to find a different way to navigate through this journey we call life. We have many attachments, we have many expectations, and what that does is create excessive suffering. I know, I've done it. So before we begin and get into this wonderful conversation, I always want to bring my message with heart and humor because it's already serious enough. And, there's never a horrible time. Well, no, that's not true. There may be a time where it isn't the best time for humor. And yet I still feel like there are so many moments, like my incredible friend Patch Adams shares, that we can bring joy and humor and laughter, especially when people are suffering, because it's already serious enough. So I aspire to be a quarter of the wonderfulness and heart and humor that he brings to the world. I aspire to be just a fraction of what he is like and all the joy he has brought to millions of people. So I am doing my very best. So today I want to share with you, as I always say, we need to talk about the elephant in the room, right? And there's my elephant Jasper. He still has a balloon because he's still celebrating my birthday. My birthday is celebrated all month. Thank you very much. But because I talk about the elephant in the room, and when I do a speaking engagement, training, wherever we may go, Jasper comes along. And much of the time I realize people don't know about all the other wonderful elephants that I have in the room. They've been gifted to me, or I have purchased them, and there's just a few. And I realize they also don't have names, so I'm going to work on that. But I have this little elephant here. He's like a puppet. You can put your hand in here and, move his trunk around. There's this sweet little one that usually sits with my books at a speaking engagement. A little cute one that I will bring to perhaps a restaurant, or when I'm talking to kids, I have these lined up. And if we really, have to say, I know the elephant's in the room, even when he's very little. Got this cute little elephant as well. And I also have some gorgeous ones here. This one here, isn't that just so beautiful? My lovely mother-in-law for my birthday got me a little bling elephant brooch that I will wear, share, something. So again, speaking about the elephant in the room, sometimes having those hard conversations, we can still make it fun with stuffies and brooches and talking about not ignoring the elephant in the room. So there you go. There's my fun fact for today. Oops, sorry, elephants. And now before we begin, I'm going to just take a moment to land here as part of my ritual. I feel like we are a ritual depleted society, and when we create rituals for life, grief, death, being present, whatever it may be, it enhances our lives and helps us to be fully present, which I'm going to do now, because when I'm sharing information, I know we're all learning and we're all teaching. And today I'd like to share a message that lands with you. I'll set an intention to reach your heart, reach your soul, whatever you need to hear today. And I invite you to create a ritual to forget about all that noise that's on the other side of the room or your door. All the things that are calling you away. Honor yourself for being here and be fully present. So for me, I like to take 2 slow, deep breaths, inhaling through my nose, exhaling through my mouth, closing my eyes. I invite you to join me, or whatever ritual helps you to just land here and spend this time together that is meaningful for you. So I'm just going to close my eyes and begin with a slow, deep inhale. Exhaling through my mouth. One more time. Every single time. It helps me to feel more grounded and centered. All right, so let's get into it. I was reviewing, I was looking at other wonderful episodes that I've done. I say wonderful because I do love sharing this information, and I know that I am just the messenger. I've learned from so many incredible humans from around this globe, and I get to share this information. And what I realize is everything was building to help to create change, of course. And in all of it, I hadn't really addressed compassion fatigue and burnout. And I was just part of an amazing 8-hour training. I was the host of the 8-hour training facilitator, and it was incredible. And I realized that we, as a society, again, talk about compassion fatigue a lot and how we need to, and burnout, especially when we are caregiving and we're giving too much. And for me, it's a yes and I want to dive into the reasons that we feel compassion fatigue and burnout. And of course, there are many things, many situations that we cannot control, right? And to even be able to decipher between the two, what can I control? Well, control, that's an illusion. What can I change? What can I not change? What can I do with this information? How can I do this differently? And, it's interesting because in that we also talk about boundaries, and everyone says you have to have boundaries. And sometimes we think, okay, so here are the boundaries and this is what you need to do. And I want to talk about that as well, because to think of that as something that can be, the same for everyone or the same for us all the time. There are certain things that we must have our boundaries, and they will be steadfast no matter what the situation. And there will be other times that I'm thinking, I don't need to have those tight boundaries today. And I think it's a big conversation. So again, compassion fatigue can be felt, especially when people are caregiving and they feel like they're giving too much, whether it's personally, professionally, or facing an illness, whatever it may be. If they're facing their own illness and also caregiving, and as many people are in this society where we have become very siloed, right? We're in our neighborhood, we don't know our neighbors, we're very siloed and don't like to ask for help, etc. So I wrote down a few notes because I thought, what do I want to share here? And I think that this is in no particular order of importance, and different things will land at different times with people and will resonate at different times depending on what they are experiencing or have experienced in the past. One of the things I believe that lead to compassion fatigue and burnout is attachment, right? We are attached to a specific outcome. For example, when someone has a terminal illness, and for us, the only solution, as we want to cure death, the only positive outcome is that this person lives longer. This person lives longer. Death is failure, and that is the only good outcome. And I just want to sit with that for a moment and let's just talk about that, because here's the thing, elephant in the room. There are worse things than dying. There are worse things than death. And that is suffering excessively. Living a life that is no longer a quality of life that makes it worth living for us. And yet, because we love this person, and I know when people want to prevent death at all costs, it is from a place of love and fear and feeling like they are doing the best for that person, that attachment. And the truth is that it is a selfless act. It is selfless to allow a natural death, to not be so fixated on keeping this person alive that we haven't even seen that this is not a life worth living. They are in a sick, tired body and they are ready. We are not. That attachment to a specific outcome. And I always laugh when I've heard people say, oh, you know, I envisioned us when we retired in 15 years and we were going to get this house and this porch and all of these things. And it's so wonderful. And again, life is unpredictable. Prepare for anything. Change is the only constant. And that also, not accepting that we don't have to like it. We can accept it. That will also help us to relieve our own compassion fatigue and burnout, because we're just so attached to what we believe is the only positive outcome or a future life, that if it isn't just this way, we're so miserable and unhappy. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm going to live my life to the fullest right now. Yes, there are certain things I'm anticipating with excitement. And yet I know that anything can change at any time. And I hope that I can acknowledge and allow my feelings and my disappointment, my anger, whatever it may be at that time, and then get to the now what, right? This was the road I wanted. Now we're going this way. Now what? If we can get to the now what, then we will suffer less and we will be able to just show up for others and allow them their journey. And so with again, compassion fatigue, there's so much we're trying to do for them to keep them living no matter what. And I think those hard conversations with ourselves and all of the, certainly, especially the person who is ill or dying, are so critical. Is this life worth living for you, or is what we are doing helpful? Now, the other side of that is when someone does have a chronic illness or they are in the dying process and it's going to take as long as it takes. And I love Barbara Carnes saying that as long as someone is living, somebody is learning something, right? Often people think, oh my goodness, we were prepared for this person and we said our goodbyes and we were tearful and it's 2 months later and they're still living and we're all exhausted. And here's the part of that too. Two things. Number one, we simply must get better at normalizing asking for help. And when we are not able, this being strong and independent, push that aside. When we are no longer able to cope with what we are doing, how much we are physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally giving, that needs to be, we have to make that decision. We have to know those boundaries, what's okay for me, what's not okay for me right now. And what I've seen many times is the person with the chronic illness or in the dying process saying, I don't want this person, other people in my house. I don't want the neighbor here. I want privacy. I don't want an agency. I don't want to go to a nursing home. And I understand all of these things. I know the greatest thing that we can do is honor people's wishes, their goals of care, and their journey as best as we can without depleting ourselves. Without depleting ourselves. I have a goofy story for this, right? Just to lighten things up again. This woman told me that she was getting so frustrated because she had to go and do foot care for her dad. P.S. I'm never doing that. Ew. And she was frustrated because she said, oh, I'm so tired of doing this. And I go every week and it's, it's a pain and I don't want to do it. And I said to my dad, I'm happy to pay this person. She's wonderful. I know her to do this. And he said, I don't want strangers in my house. I don't want her to do this. And so she continued doing this because she felt guilty. P.S. Dr. Gabor Mate, choose guilt over resentment. Do you think that as she kept doing that she would be resentful and annoyed? Do you think that there would be a good exchange there? She would be, there's underlying anger. So the truth is, when we are not speaking our truth and we are not honoring our boundaries in that moment, what's okay and what's not okay for me right now, it is a disservice to ourselves and to the person that we are caring for, and will lead to burnout and compassion fatigue. We must get better at setting those boundaries, at speaking our truth, asking for help. Oh, I have all these relatives and no one's volunteering to help and I'm so frustrated. Well, here's the thing. We need to, if you're going to keep doing it, I promise you, first of all, people are reluctant. Oh, I don't want to bother. And everyone's so busy. And oh, Jane is so great. She always takes care of all this stuff. But meanwhile, Jane's all burning out and no one's noticing because Jane never says this. So if this is the case, it's time to stop and to say, okay, what do I need to do differently? Who am I going to approach for help? And what can we all do? Create your compassionate community. Ask for help. Ask your family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, their family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, whoever it may be. Many times I've heard people say, well, I didn't even know you were struggling with this. Or, well, I can't help you. You live closer. You can do this. Like, I know, and I know this is challenging. I cannot do this anymore on my own. I'm struggling. So what can you do? How can we work together on this? We really must have these honest and sometimes challenging conversations and ask. And having those boundaries, no one knows better than you what you are capable of or willing to do. And again, so many of us are willing to do so much more and resent it and be frustrated that no one is stepping up to help. We really need to get better at these situations, no matter what we are facing. Divorce, diagnosis, job loss, mental health issues, frustration in the house. That's my thing. I mutter away, all these kids aren't helping me and well, I wish they would do more. They don't care about a clean house. They're not going to volunteer their time. They're teenagers. So I just say, here you go. Post it on the fridge. This is what I need done. Oh, it's not done. Well, before you go, can you get this done? And that's on me, right? I'm waiting for these people to volunteer and magically do things that maybe they don't want to do, or maybe they don't recognize how frustrated you are, and that's on us. So I invite you to just kind of step back in your life and say, okay, I am doing these things. And P.S., compassion fatigue and burnout, I mean, it doesn't start out with, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. Oftentimes, it's this slow little buildup, right? Okay, well, I will drive all the kids and I'm frustrated, or I'll do more of this project at work, or oh, I know mom needs this or dad needs that. I'll do all these things. I'm doing okay. I guess I'll take the dog for a walk again. And it slowly but surely builds up. And then you have all of these things where you're not asking for the assistance, the help, the whatever you need. You do not have your own clear boundaries of what's okay, what's not okay. You're just giving a little bit more here and there, here and there. And then let's add the life is unpredictable and someone becomes ill suddenly, or they have a decline in their health. And, most of us will have an illness process. Most of us will not die suddenly. And some illnesses are for many, many years. And wouldn't it be wonderful if we thought of that before? And so if that is how you live your life, right? Just giving too much, and then this happens, well, you're the person that always takes care of all this stuff. So yeah, I'm sure. Who'd I say? Jane will take care of all this stuff. And Jane steps up because it also feels good to feel needed, and everybody else feels like you're the hero. And it's not sustainable. And, we all have value and we matter simply because we exist, and being the very best version of ourselves is the greatest gift we can give. And the very best version of ourselves is authentic and honest, has healthy boundaries, is willing to give, and the big end, willing to receive. Oh, thanks, I've got it. It's okay, I've got it. No. Willing to receive. I said, well, it's wonderful to give. We need the give and the get. Get help, get clear, get boundaries, get honest with yourself, get honest with others, and receive. And here's the other big one. Oh, we're going to have to keep talking about this. The other big one, there's many. I don't have time to myself. I don't have time to go for a walk. Oh, 15 minutes. You do not have time in your 24 hours to go for a 15-minute walk. And again, side note, yes, sometimes if someone's, in a crisis and they're in the dying process and they're critically ill, yes, of course. 2 minutes, 5 minutes, something. You simply must refill your bucket. Just show up for yourself first, no matter what is going on. And the more demanding the situation, you must get good at the get and receive and check in. And it's like, okay, I'm really struggling here. I need help. And sometimes that giving yourself a few moments, moments can change everything. And I'm sorry if your day and your life is so jam-packed with the whole busyness thing. If your life is so jammed that you cannot take a 15-minute walk, a 30-minute walk, my question to you is, what can you do to change that? Because that is not sustainable. That is a surefire road to burnout and compassion fatigue and whatever. We expect so much of ourselves and each other, right? We expect so much. And it's a yes, and great to have high standards, be the very best version of you, whatever that may be. And so, again, I invite you to just step back and think, okay, so in order to be proactive as my whole shtick is, let's be proactive. Before I feel burnt out and resentful and don't want to do anything for everyone or anything for anybody, where are the areas in my life? And this takes practice. So this, I'm asking you, I'm inviting you to practice. Practice that self-compassion, practice that having your boundaries. And again, they can change depending on how you're feeling. So what can I do today? And what would be better for me not to do today? Am I okay to do the carpooling? Yeah, I'm feeling great about that. Or do I need to ask someone to do that for me? I need help today with the house, the dog, the kids, the work, whatever it may be. Start to practice prevention. Start to practice having honest conversations with yourself and others. I know I always usually do Thanksgiving dinner and I do everything on my own. I'm exhausted by it. I don't even enjoy it anymore. I'm going to request that everyone help. You might get a little pushback if you've been everything to everyone. Wouldn't it be wonderful to be teaching by example so you can be the very best version of you and model asking for help and creating that compassionate community that can be a part of your journey no matter what it is. This conversation is just too juicy to end right here, right now. So we're going to continue on in the next episode. I would love to hear what you are going to do to become a little more self-aware, self-compassionate, and become proactive so that you can prevent compassion fatigue and burnout when it comes knocking at the door, because I believe that there are times in our lives we will all face it, or someone you know and love will be facing this. And wouldn't it be wonderful to share this? Wouldn't it be wonderful to share some things that you have done differently? So as always, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking this time. It's just so meaningful to me when I hear that something that I shared helped you to have a difficult conversation. And, it was like a rusty wheel. Once you got it going, you felt better. And please know, again, along the way, that this is just what we've normalized in our society. There's no fault. There's no, oh, I wish I would have done that differently. I mean, yes. And we can look back and learn from however we handled situations and do it differently from now on. So in the meantime, I invite you to explore Win-Win Women and all the incredible shows and show hosts and all the amazing messages. They can be a part of your journey. I invite you back to the show anytime. And I love that we get to connect in real time. And of course, go to my website, loveyourlifetodeath.com. I always love when people watch my TED Talk and say, wow, I love the simplicity of just showing up. When you don't know what to do, you don't know what to say, just show up. And of course, my call to action for everyone, as always, if you want to be able to just show up for yourself and others, if you want to prevent compassion fatigue and burnout and teach by example, plan your life, plan your death, and then just love your life to death. And always, let's see, bring your own tambourine to the party. Thank you so much. Let's continue this conversation next week. Until then, namaste, my beautiful friends, and keep smiling and keep loving on you, because you are fabulous. Bye for now.